Woohoo!
Fun stuff. That's right. Sinclair Lott played the drums in that.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Hammond for the camera.
Rick Baptist.
That was fun.
Bruce Otto. Sinclair Lott on drums.
That was a cool club too, wasn't it?
Ricky's Hot
It
Sauce.
really was. You know,
Yeah.
the food was good too. Actually, it really was.
Food,
But I liked
absolutely.
it. I liked it. It was just the right size. You know.
Yeah, it was
Getting up
actually.
there, and it was. Yeah, I just love playing live music. I mean, that's the best part about, as
Yeah.
playing in front of people live. You just put it
Yeah.
out there, and it's going to be good. It might be bad. Whatever comes out, it's going to do it.
Yeah, I know. And that's where I know your name from, from the beginning, because I've lived here over 40 years. And when I first came here, I was a waitress at Dante's.
Oh
So,
my God!
that's
Far out.
kind of how I got into the community. And
Cool.
I was always singing, but still, you're 21, and,
Yeah.
you have to meet people, right? But,
Oh yeah. I played there, and remember Carmelo's? Remember
oh
Carmelo's?
yeah, Carmelo's was
Played there
great.
a lot with Bob Lawrence's band and all these different bands. Oh my God! How the Typhoon is closed. Dante's is, what is it now? I don't even know. Is it
It's a car lot.
is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, I have pictures of the building and stuff, and I worked there for a year and a half. So, yeah, I have
Wow.
some cool, fun memories. And
I
there's a
think the last time
video.
I played there was Roger Newman's rather large band
Yes.
was the last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
Yeah, a
was
lot of
always a
big
fun
bands worked
club.
there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. I mean, you got a chance to go and hang with the guys and hear great play. I mean, I remember going there and hearing Frank Rosalino play, and
Yeah.
Chuck Finley and all amazing players that would just go just to play. Connie Condoli,
Oh, totally. The Condoli brothers.
yeah.
Yeah.
How could you not love that?
Yeah. Nick, the drummer,
Mar-
Nick,
Nick
not Nick
Martin.
Martinez, the other one, Nick Ciroli.
Also, yeah,
He
he
was,
was with Bob Florence band.
yeah,
I
he
love
played there a lot then, and yeah, and that was the time. That was a really good time. That was the studios were really happening, and people would just
Yeah,
come and hang out after the studio stuff,
right.
and that's probably where I met Ross and Annie too, and
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Bob Berry and Jake
Yeah.
Hanna, and
Oh, yeah.
one night well, I don't know if you know Irene Krall. Do you remember?
Of course. Yeah.
So she was singing with Alan Broadbent. I didn't know at first, but that was her last gig. After that, she died of cancer. But the only two people in the audience were Carmen McRae and Sarah Vaughan. And I was the waitress. I was like,
pretty cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the best, I mean, and for us at that time, I was working a lot in the studios,
Yeah.
and for the musicians, it was such an outlet that you could go and do that and clean out all the brain of all the cobwebs of working in the studio, which is so, um, it's stressful. I mean, when that red light goes on, you know, whatever comes out of your horn, that's going on the tape, But to play those clubs, and then when Carmelo closed and they turned it into flamingos, remember?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
and the
Right.
guy,
Herb Jeffries, right? He
Herb
tried
Jeffries,
to,
right? That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
he tried to make that club happen.
But again, that was always for us to go and just play and have fun
Yeah.
and and be creative, but also to hang. That
Yeah.
was the thing, was the hang. You
Yeah.
got to see, I didn't see those guys in the studios. I got to see guys, that you don't see for weeks at a time. And you see each other and it's like it was yesterday, and I love that.
I know. It was a great
Yeah.
time. It really
I
was a
didn't see
great
those guys
time.
in the studios. I got
Oops,
to see
sorry.
guys, that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was truly a great time. Um, yeah. Yeah, just people were so cool. Whoops, I'm getting a little sound here. Here we go. Yeah. I'm just thinking, of other, and then there was Charlie Chiarenza's place, Alphonse's,
Right. Alfonso's, right.
and of course
And
Chadney's.
played where we did. They mainly did smaller bands, but we did a big band. Emil Richards and Joe Pacaro had a big band, and I
Yep.
remember us playing there. And we were like this. I mean, everybody's playing on one top of the other. But again, it was fun. The guy's great. God bless Charlie. I love him. And but it was just fun to go and do something. You get a chance to hear Pete Chrisley. Oh my God, come on. And when it was on Bob Florence band, the tenor players were Pete Chrisley and Bob Cooper. I
Yeah.
mean, it was an amazing band, and to play great charts and to play for our fellow musicians.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess you don't do too much of that anymore.
No, and I wish that there was more. I mean, we have at the union, I work at the union. I think I told you I'm vice president of the union. I'm
Yeah.
local 47. We have rehearsal rooms downstairs. So every week, Bill Holman's band would come and rehearse.
Oh,
Bill Holman's 92 years old still. I see him, when we have rehearsals. Obviously, COVID, we had to shut it down. But we
yeah.
got 7 great rehearsal rooms at the year. And we have, like I said, Bill Holman's big band and Kim Richmond's big band and David Angel's small big band.
Love that band.
All these Steve Spiegel, everybody comes and rehearse. So for me, I love it. I can right now I'm in my office, but I could leave my office and go down there and say hi to all my friends, Ron Stout and Carl Saunders and Bill, Charlie Loper and all these amazing players, Gene Cipriano. I mean, when you talk about the musicians that come here just to play and have fun, that's
Yeah.
what the great part of music is.
Yeah.
It's fun, and they love the camaraderie,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but as far as out in the real world,
Yeah.
there is no music.
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad.
It is, but we're as far as the union, we have come up with protocols right now. There actually is some live scoring for motion pictures and television shows going on at the major studios, Fox, and with our musicians. So we have all these safety protocols for them so that they're safe. There's also a lot of stuff which who would have thought that I mean, I always laughed at the guys that had their own studio at home because number one, you and I talked before this. I'm definitely not computer savvy. I'm gonna try to sit there and have them put a mic in front of me and they can take care of it. But now there's guys who actually, recording themselves, sending it in so that, and on union contracts to get paid. I mean, who would have thought that would have turned into a big deal? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Really crazy, crazy stuff. Well, sorry, I didn't really properly introduce you. We just got into talking, which is fine. But, ladies and gentlemen, Rick Baptist. And you already heard me say that I was aware of Rick because I was out listening to music all the time. I worked at Dante's, and Rick was in the trumpet section. So it was always like, ooh, Rick Baptist. Yeah. Whoa. Actually, you were at somebody's funeral too. Weren't you at Herb Jeffries' funeral?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was. Yes.
Yeah. I just remembered that.
Yeah.
I had an organization, a music group organization, kind of dedicated to singers, and we actually put on this production at Catalina's about him. So we all sang his songs, and he was there. He sang. I mean, we had a lot of fun with him. But
He was a nice man. He was a very nice man. He really was.
he was a special guy.
And yeah, it was. We were talking about at Dante's and the one, Jack Sheldon,
Yeah.
Jack Sheldon's band, and
Yeah.
I played in that for a while, or I mean, it was just there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on,
Yeah. How did you know Herb Jeffries?
Just actually, I'm trying to think. I think it was truthfully through who was the singer with Count Basie's band?
Joe Williams.
Joe Williams, yeah. I worked on like 3 albums with Joe Williams, along with Snooky Young. God bless Snooky,
Yeah.
So Herb would come and hear Joe Williams record. That's the respect that these guys
Oh.
have for each other.
Oh, wow.
And so Snooky said, "Hey, you want to meet Herb Jeffries?" And again, growing up and hearing Ellington's band, of course I knew who it was. He was so nice and so sincere and so great. So that's how I ended up meeting Herb. Was through Snooky. But
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. His wife was great, and we went up to Idlewild to hang out with them, and there was a room in this place. I think it was called Aurora. It was like a big, beautiful, sprawling restaurant, and they had a room dedicated to him with pictures, and it was pretty cool.
that's pretty I just remember another time where I met Herb. Herb came backstage, and we were Dizzy Gillespie in 1986 did some concerts here. I forget, it was some auditorium, and Bobby Bryant put together a big band, and so it was an amazing band. I was there with Snooky and Bill Berry and Bobby Bryant and Oscar Bashir. I mean, it was an amazing
Oh, God.
Dizzy out front. So for me, it was a thrill to play with Dizzy, And so afterwards, I was standing with Snook backstage, and Herb came back just to say, "Oh my God, this is the greatest concert I've ever heard of you guys." He was just so sweet. He really was, and it was sincere. It was no,
Yeah.
no BS. It was,
Yeah.
It was the real thing, And so I just remembered that, for me, that's really great memories to have,
Yeah. There's been I think this time period makes me realize it even more, although I've been next to music all of my life, but still, even just hearing you say all those names, Snooky Young and Oscar Bashir, and I mean, we have a kind of an embarrassment of riches, it's just really, the music is really, I think music touches everyone on the planet, and I think maybe people have come out a little bit more out of non-consciousness, unconsciousness as to that fact, because it's so abundant on the internet now, you can really see who you love,
But I think that's very true. But the thing that is sad is, I mean, there's, like I said, there's great bands, that are carrying it on and carrying it through. But that era the 60s and 70s and the 80s,
Yeah.
when you had all these amazing Frank Capra and the Juggernaut,
Yeah.
and all those amazing bands, Clayton Hamilton band. There was so many bands because there was so many great musicians here. They wanted to play fun stuff. And so I don't think that, I know that there's some guys out there now who have great bands. I hear them rehearsing here, but to relive that era, I don't know if we have that in us. I really don't.
Yeah. Louis Bellson band. That was a
Yeah,
great
I mean,
band.
played so many jobs with Louis, and Matt Katner knew. I don't know if you know Matt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He is the 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid playing for lead alto for Louis Bellson's band. I mean, I remember the first time I met him, and there was a club in it was called At My Place.
Yep. I
Remember
remember that place. Yep.
I played there with Louis' band, with so many other bands, but now there's no places like that. I mean, God bless Herb Alpert. He's got the
Yeah. And Catalina's
yeah, yeah. What's the name? What's Herb's place?
vibrato.
Vibrato. And that's great. And go up there. It's so much fun to do that. I think the last time I played up there was Wayne Bergeron's big band. And yeah, but it's those kind of things are, you look forward to them, but they don't happen that much. Gerald Wilson's band. Oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah. That was such a great
There
band.
was the players, Harold Land.
Don Ellis. Yes. Roland. Don Ellis too.
And now we keep going, and those guys, that was the time. I envy those guys who were able to work on those bands back then, But
Yeah.
now it's maybe it'll come back. I hope it does. After all this COVID, maybe.
Well, what's happening now though?
People need it. They want it. They
Yeah.
need it.
You know what's happening now is because music has, it's it's alive, so it changes. But what's happening now, or prior to COVID, was people like Billy Childs with the chamber band, orchestra band. So they're putting out groups with different instrumentation,
Well,
right?
look at John Beasley with Monk-esque.
Oh God, that is such a great band.
Yeah, that's a genius. He's a genius. I mean, he always has been.
Yeah.
I've known him for a million years, and he is, yeah. And what he does with Monk-esque, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. An awesome band. Yeah, my friend is saying Don Ellis. Yep. So Don Ellis, of course, was amazing. Where did I see his name? I was surprised to see that Don Ellis. I think it was on a TV or like a movie or
He
something.
did the movie. He did a movie, a Clint Eastwood movie. He did
Oh.
French Connection. He did the music for the French Connection.
Oh, that's where I saw it actually. Yeah.
That's where, yeah. And I know all the guys in the band. Alan Kaplan played in that band, and
Yeah.
there's so many great players, But yeah, Don wrote all the music for that movie.
Yeah, well, a while ago because I've been doing these interviews since March, and I was talking with Ralph Humphrey
Yep.
and somebody else right before that who had been involved with Don Ellis, and so we were watching some Don Ellis footage, and wow, man, that was pretty far out, man. Don Ellis, he was a wild man.
It was definitely out. You're right. It was definitely. I mean, I kind of I come from the days of the great Woody Herman bands, Count Basie's band,
Yeah.
Don's stuff was so creative
Yeah.
that it's something that it grew on you after, but as far as what those players did, Dave Krieger, along with Ralph Humphreys to play 18 slash over 3, or whatever the heck it was. He was amazing. I feel bad. I never had a chance to meet Don,
Uh-huh.
but I knew all the guys in the band, and they worked hard, man. Those guys, that wasn't one where you just go in and you go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
No, It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14, you know, I mean, it was crazy. I don't know how they did it, but they got it to swing. It was amazing. It really
Yeah,
was.
they really did. And, and Dave Mackay played with him for a while. I mean, top that off with being a blind piano player. It's
Right.
just like, oh my God.
Dave was a freak anyway. I mean, he was just amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
what can you say?
Yeah.
But the players that went through those band and those guys yeah, that is pretty amazing. There's a young guy now who writes great. He's a trumpet player. Oh my gosh, I'm going to think it in a minute. And I worked with his dad. Oh, isn't this horrible? I can't think of his name right now. I'll think of it in a little bit. Who was a great band, small little, maybe 8 or 10 horns, John. I can't think. Anyway, go on. Go
We'll
on.
think of it. We'll think of it. Gosh, we know now this is really, for me, this is cool. This is a great conversation because I know all the people you're talking about because I've been here for so long and around the jazz people. So this is really fun. Sometimes I've talked to people and they go, well, you talk about things I don't really understand, or you mention people. I'm like, oh, Diversa, John Diversa.
There it is.
Neil Rosengarten said that. Thanks, Neil.
I worked in the studios with his dad, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, John DeVersa, very good.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got some young guys in that band. The drummer is a freak.
Yeah.
Amazing, great bass player. I mean, all the guys. It's a great band. And I've gone in and subbed and played and sight read that book. And boy, I'll tell you, walk out of there. Whew, I made it, but it's what a talent. What a talent.
Yeah, he's really talented. He was on this show, and
Oh, cool.
he's really interesting to talk to too. He has a very deep point of view. It's really
Very
really
much
good.
so.
Yeah,
Very much so.
yeah, I really love him. He's, one of the first times I heard him, he was with a small group called the Westland Trio. It was him and I'd have to go look which pieces they were. I forget now, but it was only 3 of them, and I think it was 2 horns. Was it 2 horns? I don't know. I can't remember now, but it was so good. I saw them at the Blue Whale, and it was that music that when you first hear it, you immediately get into the magic space,
Right.
and you're sold, after the first note, because musicians like that open the door immediately and then you're in the room, and that's it. You don't need to hear 8 notes. 1 note is it, because they just go, come on in.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. And John he's an exceptional talent. I met him when he was very, very young. He won a scholarship through the LA County, and I was on one of the adjudicators on that, and just totally knocked out. He stood up there, just played, and did his thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't copying anybody.
Yeah.
That was him. And that's what I was so impressed with,
Yeah. Where are you from, Rick?
I'm originally San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
Let me give you my background. Is that I was born with asthma. I still have asthma to this day.
Oh, wow.
When I was 10 years old, I was running around the track at school, and my left lung collapsed. And the doctors, they rushed me to the hospital. The doctor was able to save half my lung. And the doctor, Dr. Feldman, God bless him, he said, I suggest you take up a wind instrument to build up your lungs, right? And so I remember Ed Sullivan's show was on Sunday night, and Harry James. I said, oh, wow, trumpet, that might be fun. So in the 5th grade, you could go grab a band instrument. I ran for the trumpet, and my folks gave me lessons. They rented a trumpet from the San Lorenzo Music Center that came with 3 lessons. And so, and it just came easy to me. and I started playing. I worked all over San Francisco. I was in the original Raiders band. I worked every big band you could think of. I worked from Chinese funerals and playing taps, anything that I would play my horn. And then I was 20 years old and working at a club in San Francisco called Mr. D's. And Bobby Darin came in. He was the star act for a whole week. So we played him. And I was, like I said, I was 20 years old, and he liked my playing. And his conductor, Bob Rosario, they said, "Hey, we're going to go to Reno, and Bobby Darin wants you to go as his first trumpet player for 2 weeks." So I said, "Yeah, that's cool, but I got to lie about my age," which I did, because I was only 20. And so I went to Harrahs Reno and worked 2 weeks with Bobby and stayed on there for a couple of years. And then I moved to Vegas in 1971. And worked in Vegas from 1971 to 1979. And I moved here in November of 79 from Vegas. And at that time in Vegas, oh my God, the players that lived there, Carl Fontana. I mean, every great, trumpet player, musicians, there was 11 house bands, 11 bands that would have, the acts would come in. It would be from Elvis to Liberace to Sinatra, whoever, and the house band would play. Well, the house band could only work 6 days a week, 2 shows a night. But the acts who came in, they had to work 7 days. So there was a relief band. So I was the first trumpet player in the relief band. So I worked 6 different hotels every week in Vegas. So that for me worked out great because I had a chance. Nelson Riddle came in with Sinatra, so I had a chance to play with Nelson Riddle. Peter Matz, Don Costa came in as the conductor and sitting up front guitar player for Flip Wilson. The great Don Costa, right? So I had a chance and I always knew that LA is where I wanted to come. I remember growing up watching the Oscars and saying, "Boy, someday I'd love to do that." Well, I'm thrilled to say that for 30 years I was first trumpet player on the Oscars. And then I've worked on 1,300 motion pictures. You can see some of the gold records in the background. The top one here, that's Lionel Richie's All Night Long.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, cool.
Linda Ronstadt's albums with Nelson Riddle. And I've got Natalie Cole's Unforgettable. I was there when Pete Chrisley played that most amazing solo on that. One take. There was no 2, 3, 1 day. That was it. That's how brilliant this guy is, Pete Chrisley, right?
Yeah.
And you as a singer have to appreciate Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
She has some chops.
Yeah, she does.
Did her first album. And, so just music has always been amazing thing for me. And it's what I always said how blessed we are as musicians to do what we love and get paid for it. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So I just think that it's a God's gift. I absolutely believe that. And I thank God that I still, I hope I would never get Alzheimer's or anything like that, because I love the fact that my memories, in 1969, December of 69, I just turned 21 years old, working at Harrahs Reno. Bill Cosby came in, and his opening act was Dizzy Gillespie. So here I am, 21-year-old kid, playing with Dizzy Gillespie for 2 weeks, got to hang with him, got to talk with him. It was, in fact, you had mentioned her name before. The first, after Bobby Darin left, they had 2 months off, came back. It was March of 69. And that act was Sammy Davis Jr. and his opening act was Carmen McRae.
Oh God.
So had a chance.
Oh boy. Both of them. Oh my God.
I know. Yeah. It's amazing. When you think about those days, how blessed I was to be able to do that. But I'm thrilled to say that I am a studio musician. I've loved every second of working in the studios, but I also love playing live. There's something, it's something about playing live and getting that live reaction from the audience. I miss that. Right? As a title officer in the union, I'm not allowed to play anymore. So
really? Wait. What?
Yeah,
Say
that's
that again?
yeah, I'm not allowed to play my instrument because they say I could put undue pressure on contractors to hire me. Yeah, all right. So when I 6 years ago when I was asked to do this, I thought, you know what, I've done everything I ever dreamt of doing. And it's the last really fun gigs that we were doing. You mentioned Ralph Humphreys. Is I did Dancing with Stars for 12 seasons.
Oh, wow.
And we loved that job so much because number one, it was totally live. The band was unbelievable. I mean, players like Dan Higgins and like you said, Ralph Humphrey and Trey Henry, amazing
Oh,
singers.
wasn't it on piano
Tom
from,
Rainier, the brilliant
yeah,
Tom Rainier.
Tom Rainier.
Brilliant. He was also
Yeah.
him and Dan Higgins did some of the writing along with the great Harold Wheeler. So we would do this 2 days a week, every week for 22 weeks. And like I said, that job was so great. We loved it because it was totally live. They treated us amazing, and the eye candy wasn't too bad. So, well, hey, I'm back there playing my horn. Come on. Anyway, yeah, so I figured, I've done everything I ever wanted to do as a player. So I wanted to give back. And so now, as vice president, I feel that I'm doing that, and I love it.
Wait, so I'm still caught in this that you're not supposed to play. Can you just play though? I mean, can you get together with people and play? And
Again, I probably could. And so what I did was 6 years ago, I always brought my horn to work, and at 5 o'clock, I would get my horn out. And because everybody leaves here, so I'd go in the hall and go, or play something for the people to know. And so I did that for about 6 months, right? And then after 6 months, I realized that I hadn't touched my horn in like 5, 6 months, and I didn't miss it that much because I always hated practicing. I did. My mom made me practice 2 hours a day. Thank God, Mom. But I played all the time, and so
yeah,
I didn't have to practice.
yeah,
I knew I had 2 days off in the studios because when we walk in the studios, we have no idea what we're going to play until we get there and we open the book up and say, "Oh, good," But so if I knew I had to be ready. So there was a great lady trumpet player in town. Her name is Glenda Smith. And I called her up and I said, "Glenda, you got to beat me up." And I would go over to her house and we would play 2 hours of duets nonstop. And man, that for me, it was great because practicing to me was boring. I mean, I knew I had to play it,
yeah.
but I also knew, it wasn't fun playing by yourself. But playing duets, it was great. And that got me through all the times when if I had a few days off. And so, but yeah, I miss it. Obviously, I miss it. Like when they did Incredibles 2, because I played first trumpet on the Incredibles 1, And when they did 2, I showed up at the session, and that was a tough one. And then when they made the Jurassic Park remake, because I worked on the original Jurassic Park with John Williams, when Michael Giacchino, I was his first drum player in all his movies. When they did the second one, they invited me down to the stage to hear. And I was sitting there, and when they started playing the theme that I did with John Williams in the same, in MGM, and I couldn't take it. I started to well up, and I said,
Oh,
and so there's times, and every time the Oscars come on, doing it 30 years, that's the greatest job. The Oscars is the greatest job. And again, I told you I like playing live. Well, this is with the Oscars. You play the Academy Awards. Before the downbeat happens on show day, the main director we're all wearing headphones, obviously. He'd say, "Okay, folks, now don't forget you're going live to 1 billion people." That'll get your heart started, So when I tell people, that, and it's true, we are, you make a clam, 1 billion people are going to hear it, So you obviously you try to do your best. And when there was 1 year, the movie Mambo Kings, the song was nominated called "Beautiful Maria," right? And so Arturo Sandoval, the great Arturo Sandoval, played the movie. Well, Bill Conti came to me and says, "Rick," he says, this song from Mambo Kings, "Beautiful Maria," and Placido Domingo is going to sing it, and they want you to and he said, would you mind standing next to him and playing? I said, yeah, it's cool, right? So I
Yeah.
rehearsed with him for the week and all that. And he was amazing. I have to admit, he was amazing. And so showtime, we did a dress rehearsal, everything was fine. Then showtime. Now I'm standing next to Placido. Now I had started in the pit for about an hour playing, the overtures and all the play-ons and everything. And so they came down and got me, and they put little ruffle sleeves on my jacket, and I went up to Placido. And he looks at me and says, Rick, is it true we're going live to 1 billion people? And I said, oh, yes, sir, we are. Like, duh, And he says, geez, I'm a little nervous. And as soon as he said that, my niece, I said, oh, my God, Placido Domingo is nervous? Why am I not? You say, great. Well, thank God the downbeat came right after that, and I made it through. But I thought that was so interesting that, I had done it for 30 years, even though they say that you go live, you kind of forget it because you do your job. That was my job. But when he said it, man, you start to get the dry mouth, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to pull this out. And I did, thank God. It was, that's why I always loved just doing the live shows, playing the Grammys. I did that for 25 years, and the Emmys and all those,
Yeah.
It's a thrill. That's all I can say. It's a thrill.
Okay, so this begs the question, because I'm sure you can get together with friends and play a little, but the thing is, what makes you okay with basically giving the whole thing up and being the vice president of the union? What makes it okay for you?
Well, truthfully, what it is that I've done everything I dreamt of doing as a player.
Okay.
And there was, I'm sure there was new challenges, but at that point, I'd done everything I wanted.
Yeah.
I ever dreamt of. We all have dreams, and so I just felt at that time, maybe this is good.
And what was attractive to you about being the vice president of the union?
I think truthfully was to be able to, because I work with so many of these great musicians, not only the musician now, but the musicians of yore that played in the studios. And I'm a fan of all those kind of things, And so we have an archives building here at the union that every once in a while, when I first started, I would just go in there and sit there and look through old contracts. I mean, I found the original contract for Gone with the Wind to see who played on that, or Wizard of Oz, or the Alfred Hitchcock movie Psycho, and the string player. Well, I saw all the play, the names of it, and so I'm a fan. I am absolutely a fan. And so I wanted to impart that. So every month I write a column, and I try to, because as you know, musicians, we don't get credit. Like I said, I played on 1,300 motion pictures. I think I've had my name on 50, and believe it or not, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so I want people, the younger musicians, the upcoming musicians, and the people around the country who read my VP column for the overture, to know who some of these older players were, like the great trumpet player Sid Lazar, who did the Godfather thing. Da, 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 da. All right, that's Sid Lazar. Then a lot of people don't know because his name wasn't on the thing. The great McNabb, who played on 2,000 or more movies. You listen, you watch a movie like Dances with the Wolves. He's got solos through the whole thing. No name at the end. So the thing that I feel really, really proud about in negotiations, every year I would bring it up to have musicians' name on the crawl, the end crawl, right? Starting in the 70s, go to these different, go into the negotiations. And, they always said, well, the music is the last thing it goes on the film. And so we already have the timing for the crawl and all that. Well, now you can hit a button, 100 names go on the screen, just like that. And we've all seen it on the Pixar movies. They have hundreds of animators, But the one in the 80s that always bugged me, because I would work on these movies. The fifth movie I did when I came to town was E.T., right? So I went and watch them with my family. And, they show the conductor, of course, and the composers, of course, and the contractor. But there's no other names, right? So in the 80s, there was always a name on there that bugged the crap out of me, because he got his name on the crawl, and the musician, how important music, and your people and the people in the audience know how important music is, right? But there was always one name, and it was the Honey Wagon Driver. Do you know who the Honey Wagon Driver is? Honey Wagon Driver is the guy that drives the porta potties to the job. Now, granted, that's important. That's important in music. And his name, and they always tell us, well, you guys can do a movie in a whole week, and these people work on it for months at a time. But that doesn't matter. So now we finally got it in the contract just last year, and it actually started May of this year, that any musician that plays on a motion picture or a major, big time TV show or whatever, their name is going to be on crawl.
Huh.
I am so thrilled about that.
That's really amazing, actually. That's so,
the same thing on the Oscars.
Yeah.
30 years I did it. My name, our names are never on the Oscars.
Yeah.
How would that show be without the music, right? So when I became the vice president, I went, because I did the show for 30 years, so I knew all the people, right? And I went to the executive producer, Rob Payne, great guy. 4 weeks before the show, the Oscars in 2014. And I said, Rob, there's what are the chances of the musicians getting their name on the crawl? And he looked at me, he says, Rick, he says, he said, there's a lot of names on the crawl that shouldn't be there. The musician should. And in front of me, he picked up the phone, called the Academy, and said, I'm sending over 55 names along with copyists and orchestrators, and I want it on the crawl. So for the last 5 years,
wow,
musicians have their name on the Oscars on the crawl. And I feel real good about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic.
So, that's the kind of things. And I love talking to the young musicians. We have orientation once a month. Well, we did until COVID shut us down.
Yeah.
Once a month, the new members would come in, and we would give them the oath of office. And I got to read that, as vice president. And afterwards, I would have them come to my office. And I could probably pan around, but I have a lot of, I did all the Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Pinky and the Brain cartoons. I have all memorabilia all over the place in my office. And I would bring them in here, and we talk about this. And I talk about their career and what they wanted, what their dreams are. I love doing that. Every year I speak at 13 different colleges in the area. And what I say is I lie about my career, and then I talk about the musicians union, But I love talking to the younger musicians and encouraging them, because they are the next people who are taking over for all of us.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm seeing what you why you like to be the vice president of the union, because you can accomplish stuff. You can get things done that should get done.
Yeah, and that's exactly.
Over the years, my dad was a sax player in Boston, and he was a union guy. But over the years, I heard, good and bad comments about the union, in general, not just the LA union, but just in general. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I'm not really sure of my question, but has the union, do you feel that the union has, because you've also been a member of the union forever, but do you feel like the union has gone through kind of almost like politics, like gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly,
I think yes, in a lot of situations, yes. I think, the musicians who were working, we're talking about in the 50s, the Wrecking Crew and all those guys. who, all those record dates were done union scale, and so I think in a lot of ways the union has benefited a lot of people, and I get a lot of the young players, young college players said, well, should I join the union? I said, well, and then I tell them the truth. I said, well, there's a Taft-Hartley law that's in California that you can work if you get called. Let's say your uncle is John Williams, okay?
Oh
John
yeah.
Williams, and you don't belong to the union yet.
Yeah.
John Williams can say to his contractor, Sandy DeCrescent, hey, my cousin is a great trumpet player and I want him to be called. And she has to call that musician. And
Yeah.
me as a and that person is a non-union, but they can come in and you could do in a 30-day span a union job, and you will get all the union benefits, the union scales, the pension benefit, health and welfare benefits, all the benefits, all the breaks and all the rules that we have for our musicians. You will get that. But at the end of those 30 days, you're going to get a letter with my name at the bottom of them, Rick Baptist, vice president, saying now that you've worked some union jobs, you have to join the union. So I think in answer to your question is yes, the union has got bad rep a lot of times for harassing. In this town especially, there have been for over 50 years cash dates, jobs that go on without a union contract. They hire an orchestra, they pay them under the table cash, but most of those times, I mean, if you do a union job and you don't get paid, you make one phone call to the union and say, hey, I wasn't paid for this. Boom, you're going to get paid. We're going to get your money. But if you do a non-union job and they decide, oh, we don't have enough money to pay you, you're screwed. They still have all the stuff that you put on the tape for them, and you said, no, we're not going to pay you. So I think the union, the protections that we have for the musicians and the benefits that they have, we have, there's residuals. Like I'm sure if you sang on a commercial and that commercial, excuse me, was used on a television show or in a movie, or you sang on a record and they took your track and put it on a motion picture, you get a new use payment. The union will find that for you. You will get a new use payment for your track that you did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. So you will continue to get paid for that. So those are some of the benefits that the unions have, as far as, like there is a film musician secondary market fund. And when you work on a motion picture, and let's say they show it on television, they show it on an airplane, they show it on cable, and they show it in Europe, the company pays into the special motion picture special payment fund for you, for me, that session that I did. And then every July 1st, all those monies, they send you a check that in July 1st, we call it Christmas in July, because if you've worked on a lot of movies, it's a very large check. And like I said, I did in 1983, I did ET. I'm still getting paid every July for ET. So all these different things. So that's one of the benefits.
Yeah.
The union
Now,
member.
what I think in the old days, I think there used to be disgruntledness about if you were a union member, you were not supposed to play a live. Let's say you had a gig in East LA, a salsa gig that you were getting cash for, and you weren't supposed to do that. So I think that was probably where some of the disgruntled stuff was coming
but
from.
they actually had what they called there was in all the studios in the 50s and 60s, they had house orchestras, right?
Yeah.
And you had a weekly gig. I mean, that was it. But you were not allowed to do a Latin gig or play this, because they want the union. It was called the quota system. You could only do so many things, right? Because they were trying to make work for other players. Hey, you're working, you got a full-time job in the studios, why not let this other gig be played by somebody else? So yes, there was that kind of thing going on. Not anymore, but now what we're trying to do is for the jazz guys, especially, because as hey, when we played Dante's, we played Carmelo's, they gave you $50.
Maybe.
Maybe. There was never a scale for that. There was
Right.
never a scale for that.
Yeah.
And I really believe that there's time now to, if we could get the, a way that the musicians could possibly maybe get a small payment towards your health and welfare. Because as you know, the health insurance is very expensive. So why can't we go to these different clubs, which there's not that many now, and say, listen, why not put this job, whoever comes in here, put it on a union contract. All you have to come up with, you won't have to pay any more than what you were paying them, but the musicians get the benefits. And that's what we're going to be trying to do. There's a new administration we just had a big election yesterday. And if I'm talking a little incoherent is because I was up until about 4:30 to find out who the new administration is.
Oh.
Luckily, I was reelected. I'm thrilled. And we have
Congratulations.
First female musician to win the presidency of Local 47 in the 127 years of Local 27. Her name
First
is
female.
Stephanie O'Keefe. She is going to be the new president of Local 47, the first female, and we're really excited. And Stephanie is a French horn player, played with all these different jazz bands, and I mean, played with Marty Page's little band, and she's a great musician. And so that's one of the things we're going to try to do, is so that when the musicians go do those fun gigs, as we would call them, and instead of getting $50, let's say you get $40 and $10 goes into your health and welfare plan. That's good. And that's what we want to do.
Cool. I have a question here from Mark Baldrich. He said, when I was a kid, Great America had playing musicians. Then when the union stepped in, Great American replaced all the musicians with music played by tape. How do you prevent that type of behavior by companies?
You're right. And that has, right now we have, they tried to do that at Magic Mountain, but they are using real musicians. And it's just a matter of the union going in, and there is legally, there is ways that we can, I don't know if the force is the right word, I'm not going to say that, but suggest that, and I think it's just education. They think they're saving money. They're not saving money.
Yeah.
So that's our job, is to go in there and say, hey guys, yeah, you're using the record, but didn't you have to pay licensing fees for that record? That's more money than what you would have to pay the musicians. So in answer to your question, to his question, is that's our job, is to educate the employers into, and because it all boils down to the pencil pushers, the guys who say, oh, it's going to be $4 more than you paid last time. Well, wait, it's not. But look what you get, So that's our job, and that's what we're going around and doing that, to the different major companies. Luckily we don't handle, Local 47 doesn't handle Disneyland. That's Santa Ana Local, which is Local 7. They handle Disneyland, and they tried to get away with that on Disneyland. And they did in some ways, but they haven't. And now, so yeah, in answer to the question, it's a battle we have to keep fighting. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
We have to keep fighting because they think they're saving money.
Yeah.
They think they're saving money.
Apparently, because why else would they do it? Right?
Yeah, not though. And that's the whole thing. They're not.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing if we can get a little bit of music going. And you had a tribute to Steve Jobs.
I did.
That I saw. What was that?
Hang on, let me show you right here. Hang on.
Okay.
I played on all the Pixar movies, right? And so I'm going to hold this up. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, cool. So we were doing Monsters Inc., right?
Okay. Yeah.
Steve Jobs was CEO of Pixar. So we were at Sony Studios, and John Lasseter he said, hey, and he loved the trumpet section. And so he said, hey guys, I want you to meet my boss. And he said, this is Steve Jobs. And Steve says to me, he says, hey, I played trumpet in junior high school and high school. I said, you're kidding. He says, yeah. So Randy Newman was doing something with the strings. So I gave him my cornet. I said, play a C scale. Now in hindsight, I'm testing the guy who at the time was worth about $20 billion, right? And he looked at me and he kind of smiled and he goes, buzzed his lips, put the horn up and played C scale. Da, 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 da. Anyway, it sucked. But he said, he actually said to me, he said, geez, I'm glad I don't do this anymore. I said, yes, so are we, right? Anyway, he actually signed my music here. And it says, to Rick, I'm an old trumpet player too, Steve Jobs. So anyway, he came back 2 or 3 days in a row and stood and just talked to us. He was so interested in the music and in how we were doing it, and listening. And so anyway, I got a phone call from, and we would talk. I mean, it was amazing, the conversations that we had with Steve Jobs. I even said to John Lasseter the next day, I can't believe what a nice guy he was, right? He says, you don't want to sit across the table from him in negotiations, right? So John Lasseter contacted me, and he knew that Steve Jobs, his favorite song was Smile. And it was his mom's favorite song. And so John Lasseter contacted me and said, Rick, he says, I would be honored, and I'm sure Steve's family would be honored if you played at his funeral, Smile. And at that time, they had the funeral was sent around to every Apple store, And so I did that. I played Smile for that, and that's how I ended up playing at Steve Jobs' funeral.
Oh, and so this is what? So
yeah, this. I'm very proud to say I've played on all 12 of the Pixar movies. John Lasseter, who is the director of Monsters Inc. and many others, this actually tells Steve into their scoring stage. So we have the huge orchestra and Randy Newman conducting, and John brought him back to the trumpet section. So Stephen looked at us and says, I played trumpet in high school. I said, really? Think you remember how to do it? He said, oh yeah, no problem. I said, here. I gave him my horn and said, play C scale. And he took the horn and he played. And with all due respect, Stephen, this is what it sounded like to us. They actually aired this at his funeral. And he took the horn away and said, boy, am I glad I'm not a musician. Of course, in our hearts, we probably all said, yeah, us too. But yeah, so they actually aired that at his funeral. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's very cool. I had another possible. Let's see what this one was. Let's see. It might have been the. Oh yeah, this is the Bill Conti "Blood In, Blood Out."
Yeah. Go to the last minute and a half of that. Yeah, good. Yeah, that was actually it was really a great movie. Bill Conti wrote a great score, and yeah, I just that's one that I feel very I'm very proud of again, that was we recorded that at Warner Brothers Studios with a huge orchestra, and yeah, that was pretty neat. It's fun to hear that, and that's one of my 1,300 my 50 movies I have my name on. So that's kind of cool, you know.
Your sound was amazing on that. Wow,
Thanks.
so
I was,
strong, and the intonation and tone were so great.
yeah, I felt really good about what I did for that movie. It was really kind of neat, you know. And
Yeah.
again, I had worked on the Oscars with Bill Conti for 19 years, so he knew how I played, so he knew how to write for me to do that, you know.
So when let's see. So I guess you always warm up. Over those years that you're playing and active, you always warm up. You're probably not taking lessons anymore, I'm guessing. And but how did your sound develop? How did you, because studio stuff, I mean, you're fitting in with what's needed, right? And so how does, in that situation, how does one get their own sound going?
Well, I think that the important thing, and you had said, the important thing is that you have to have your own personality. It's like, you as a singer, you might idolize Carmen McRae, Sarah Vaughan, whoever, but you don't want to sing exactly like they do.
Right.
And so for an instrumentalist, especially a trumpet player, and again, growing up, I idolized Snooky Young as far as what he did, and I loved Bill Chase. What he played on Woody Herman's band and Maynard Ferguson. And so, what I think as a player, what I did was I took a little bit of everything that I liked of their playing and tried to put that into my playing. And as far as sound, again, I play Shoki trumpets. I'm a big advocate of their horns. They're great horns. But when you work in an orchestra, it's like if you got called to sing in a choir, granted you're a soloist, but you're going to sit in the alto or the soprano section, and you're going to try to blend with everybody else, right? And
Hmm.
and what I try to explain to younger players, because there's some amazing musicians out there, but you know, everybody has their own. You have an ego. I have yet, and trumpet players have huge egos, you know, and I can say that because I am a trumpet player. But I tried to let them know that you're not always going to be the first trumpet player.
Yeah.
So why not go in and be the best second, third, and fourth trumpet player you could be? Somebody that if you're supporting that player there, all right? Because it's not how we're gonna. The important thing is the music they put in front of you to play that the best you can. And
Yeah.
so the more versatile you are as a player, I mean, like I said, I played on 1,300 movies. I played most of those movies. 1,000 of those movies were with the same 4 or 5 trumpet players. We all worked together.
Yeah.
Now, nah, brilliant, And so, like, what we would do, if the music called for a big band, and Malcolm was playing first trumpet, well, if I wasn't there, I mean, that music, boom, is going right on my stand, right? Because I eat that stuff up. Then you got the great Warren Looney who can play anything, right? So we all understood that the music was the important thing, and that's the thing that I try to impart to these young players, is that if you're a great all-around player, you'll find your own voice, but don't steal. No, I like his sound. How does he get it? No, you have to have your own voice, your own speak. So I just think it's a matter of um, finding what your fortes are, what your weaknesses are, but to work with other players who, let's say, I mean, the thing that I always hated, I can't say I hate it, but the thing that, you're sitting and there's a movie that comes up and there's a 100-piece orchestra and you have the last 4 bars and it's all by yourself very easy, maybe in the staff. Dee, da, 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 da. Now, all, for the whole tune, the strings are playing 19 trillion notes and the woodwinds, and if I crack one of those notes, then everybody has to redo it again, right?
Yeah.
So when if I was playing first trumpet, they hired me to play first trumpet on a movie, and there was a real a naked kind of solo, and I had somebody like John Lewis sitting next to me or Warren or whoever, it would go on their part because they eat that stuff for lunch. That's easy for them. So even though my ego is, I would say, oh yeah, I could play that. I could, but he could play it better than I do. So why not play it, have the music, the composer happy, and we're all going to get called again. So to find your own voice, you have to listen to a lot of music and listen to a lot of players, but also from doing that, you have to also find your own voice. Same thing as a singer. You could copy whoever you like, the great Sue Rainey or anyone, but then all you're doing is imitating them. That's not you. So I think the main thing to do is you find your own voice. You hear everything you play, you record it. I like the way it sounds. I didn't like the way I did that. Boom. I don't like my sound on that. And everything just kind of gets like a painter. You paint, and finally the final product, that's what you're happy about. So, I think that's kind of a roundabout way of saying that you have to be happy with yourself. You have to be happy with what you play. And, after doing it I had that piece of metal on my lip for 55 years. I'm happy with what I did.
Well, it's kind of also I hear in what you're saying is you are you're serving the music.
Absolutely.
And so that's a humble position and a committed and ethical and honest position. If you're serving the music, and you really can't lose by doing that.
That's true. And like I said, you're also playing in a band with other amazing musicians. I was blessed to work with the greatest musicians on every instrument, and appreciate that.
Yeah.
You have to appreciate that. You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Do you teach? Somebody's asking.
I know what I love doing is exactly what we're doing. I would have whoever wants to come and take a lesson with me. I could impart some things to them, but I mainly want to hear you and hear how you play and try to talk. As you can see, I love talking. So, hey, that's okay. But trying to talk and steer you in the direction that I think will help you. I don't, I had great teachers, but I think the teachers I learned the most from was my fellow musicians.
Yeah.
And so I try to impart that onto the younger players.
Right.
Because I'd much rather have them hear it from me before they have a chance to do it, and then they'll know what to do. There's certain things that that the teachers in schools who haven't had the opportunities, let's say, that I've had in my career, they might think it's supposed to be this way, but I lived it. So I could tell you the things that you need to do. Like, for example, I love telling the younger musicians that, let's say you get a call. Like I said before, your uncle's John Williams. You're going to get a call to work on one of his movies. All right. So the way motion pictures work is it's based on 3 hours. So you get called to do a 10 o'clock double session, which means it's 10 to 1, 2 to 5. All right. So they called you and they said, okay, this is Dateline, the call that puts out all the calls for all the contractors. And they said, okay, we have a motion picture call for you next week at Fox Studios. It's on Wednesdays. It's a 10 o'clock double. Can you make it? Oh yeah, I could be there. Okay, fine. So what time do you show up at that 10 o'clock job? That's what I tell them first.
Right.
And so they'll say, well, 10 o'clock, oh, you should probably show up at least 15, 20 minutes. I says, wrong. I says, number one, have you ever played at Fox? No. All right. Do you know where you park? to get to the score? Do you know how to get to the scoring stage? Well, no. All right. So if you show up at 9:30 even or 20 minutes to 10, you're going to be late. What you do is you show up at least a minimum an hour ahead of time. All right. And let's say, and you'll find out, okay, you follow the cars and you see musicians carry the case, you fall into the scoring stage. So then you go, now you're on the scoring stage. All right. And you don't know anybody. This is your first job. It's exciting. So what you do, as I tell this to every musician, every young musician on your first job, what you do is you go over to the donut and bagel table and where the coffee is, and you talk to people and let them know, wow, I'm so excited. It's my first job. Oh man, I remember my first job. And before you play one note, they see what your personality is like. They see what you're like. Then when it's time to go and sit down on your chair, then you do what got you there. But it's so important that meeting everybody beforehand, right? And it's just amazing how a lot of people don't understand. You could be late once, you late twice, they lose your number because there's a long line of musicians who want to be there.
Yeah.
So it's a business. It is music business. And so there's certain things that you have to do. And that's what I impart to these young musicians, what they have to do.
Yeah. Few people are saying hello. Sonny Wilkinson is saying hi.
Oh, cool. That's
He's
cool.
my dear friend. And Mike Patterson.
All right, Mikey. Love it.
Yeah, they've both been on this show too. I love
cool.
them. I love them both.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, that is cool. Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yeah, we are.
And all those truisms like it takes a tribe and all of that stuff. It's so true. And we all, if we all just recognized that and helped each other, that would be great. Like you said, I mean, there's, I too, I think, if I can say this, that over the years, I've really, by my actions and my point of view, have made, especially in the earlier days, have made the singer community stronger because I just didn't feel like competitiveness was part of
It's not.
part of what was supposed to happen. It was like, okay, let's all work.
Right. Exactly.
It's not you work or I work. It's like let's everybody work.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to also ask you. You probably knew Andy McIntosh, right?
Very well. Yes.
Yeah, because he was.
What a
Yeah.
What a great.
I know, great player, funny guy. He was a very dear friend of mine, and I actually went out with him around the Dante's time.
Oh,
And
right.
actually, it was right around when Frank Rossellino died. That whole period.
Yeah.
And then Andy actually about 7 years ago brought me to England and recorded an album for me, and it got left on the shelf. And then a few years ago, 2 years ago, we got it off the shelf. He passed away a few years ago, but we got it off the shelf, and we made my last record, which was Straight Ahead to the UK.
Right.
I called that. And so he's playing on it, and probably some other guys, that you probably know, Simon Gardner.
Of course.
Yeah.
And he's a
Great
good guy.
player. Yeah,
He's
nice
good.
guy. Yeah. And a really beautiful player. So he's on my record. Yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah, I'll send you a copy of that.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. And but anyway, yeah, Andy McIntosh. He was a character.
Again, they're all knuckleheads. We love. I mean, That's why the music sounds great, is because we
Yeah.
could do this. We could play and you smile and it makes you happy. And that's, one of the older musicians, someone came up to him, a young student, said, "What's it like being a studio musician?" Actually, the gentleman's name was Bill Oye. His brother was Lloyd Oye, great trombone player. Bill was on staff at Fox as a woodwind player, and he answered him truthfully. He says, "Truthfully, to being a studio player, it's about 90% sheer boredom, 10% sheer terror." And you know what? That's pretty much right. I mean, I was married to a trumpet player for a minute and a half, and she used to come to the session with me, and said, "Oh, I could have played that." I said, "Yeah, you're right. You could have." But there's that 10% where, anybody, and it's true, anybody who's a trumpet player on the majority of things that we have to play in the studio, especially on motion pictures, you know, um, you guys can come in and do it. That's true. But then there's that 10%, like I told you, at the end of a cue that James Horner wrote, and I just had to hit one bell tone note above the staff that I could do it, my eyes closed, wake me up, and I could do it. But the brain, has that thing, and I realized, and the strings, and James Horner, he would do these long takes. I mean, long takes. And, I mean, that was the sheer terror for me. But again, you've got to find a way to do it. But that's about right. 90% sheer boredom, 10% sheer terror. But how cool is it that we could do what we love to do and get paid for it?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
many people say that they do that.
That's so true. And my friend Roland is reminding me, and I've had some experience with Tommy Tedesco, and this,
Ah,
I mean, he was really an activist.
oh yeah,
I
Tommy.
mean, he changed a lot of stuff regarding payment and right.
Absolutely. Tommy was amazing. I
Yeah.
my first One of the first jobs I did with him, and we got along great, and he came up to me. He said, "Kid, I've seen you around. I'm proud of you. You're starting to do a lot of work. I want to give you a tip." Now I'm thinking, "Oh my God, the Tommy Tedesco is going to give me a tip." And he pulls me over to the side and he says, "We all go over to the bagel and the donut table." He says, "Rick, when you get there in the morning, what you do is you take a bite out of three different donuts, right? And then you put it back on the tray, and you'll be able to have a donut for the next two breaks." That was his tip to me,
That
which
makes
is the
sense.
greatest. But for
Yeah.
me, it was like, wow, I'm getting the tip. This is a personal tip from Tommy. Free donuts, and they'll always be there because they're not gonna take a bite out of a donut that has a bite already taken out of it. So that's my.
That's
And
funny.
were you able to go to his funeral
Yes, I
with
was.
our players and
Yeah,
all
that
the
was amazing.
it
Yeah.
was unbelievable. And I worked a lot with all those guys, Dennis Budimir
Yeah.
and May and all the great, but the respect that they had for Tommy
Yeah.
was palpable, and it's true, and he was the best.
And the stories about him, and what he did. Like I remember one story, he was in the studio, he had his mandolin,
Right.
and it was in the case. And so he took it out and he played the mandolin, whatever. I don't know if you remember the story, but the guy in the studio, the guy who was paying, he said, "Oh no, I don't like that. I need something else." And he went into this, and so Tommy, he took out his mandolin. And he said, "Oh well, let me try this because I just changed the mandolin." and he
It's true.
so
That's true
and
story.
the guy said, "Yeah, yeah, perfect. That was what
Yeah,
I wanted."
he would, and that's true. And what it was, he was behind a baffle, and the guy says, "Boy," he says, "like, do you have an oud?" Tom says, "Oh yeah, I do, yeah." And and he plays it. Oh, that's great. but he didn't have it. He just played it on the guitar, you know. And Tommy was famous for they called plectrum tuning, and that's what he came up with. And what it was, you all these other weird instruments, the oud and banjo, whatever, whatever it is, you tune it like a guitar,
Uh-huh.
and you could play it. Everybody could play it, and that was he came up with that called plectrum tuning.
Oh, huh. He was a cool guy. His kids are cool. I mean,
Love them both. Damon is working at Fox, and he's a great engineer. And his brother Denny, of course, all the things they did that he did, they did for on the amazing Wrecking Crew documentary.
oh yeah, what a
That was
great,
all Denny's stuff. They're amazing. It's an amazing
yeah.
family. But Tommy, there's only one Tommy Tedesco, one.
um, you must know Dennis Dreeth, right?
Very well.
So he's a friend of mine, and his company uses me as a jazz person to, like, because he has this new licensing company, and
Right.
so they kind of use me as their you know tryout project or something, because I
That's
make so
cool.
little money. But anyway, so he was one of the guys early on, right, who found money
Dennis
for
is
musicians.
every musician who gets a residual check in July. Remember I
Yeah,
told you about that?
yeah.
They should get down and kiss Dennis Dree's feet. And
Wow.
now he is responsible for the AFM SAG-AFTRA award, SAG-AFTRA residuals that we get. Dennis was responsible. Dennis is brilliant. I mean, he is. And his wife's a great artist too, by the way.
I know.
Have you seen her stuff?
Yeah, she's great. Leslie, she's really fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I did when he was, they moved right from out of Studio City, but when they were in Studio City, my friend Bevan Manson was
That's another talented guy.
incredibly. So he was like one of the main producers on this record that I did called the Jazz Chamber, and I had a whole bunch of. We went through the union very detailed, and but Dennis also. We did some of the work at Dennis's studio, some of it at East West, and Dennis arranged two of the songs too. Because that was like one of his first loves,
Right.
and he's just such a cool guy. He's
The best. He's brilliant.
yeah, he's very
He's brilliant.
generous. Yeah, really nice person. And his daughter's a drummer in New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's that's I'm a huge fan of Dennis, believe me. Any musician who gets any residual checks.
Yeah, well, he was so helpful, right? So
Yeah.
helpful. I want to look for a little bit more of your playing. So let's
Yeah,
see.
I know that you have to be careful as to what you pick. So
Yeah. Well,
but I'll be able to, let's see.
there's this one, but I think we found some a little later. But this was the American College Band in 2011.
Yeah, every year Disney All-Star band, and I would go out, and they would have a bunch of players, and I would give 2 clinics, and then I'd do a concert with them, and I loved it. And I ended up working with a lot of the kids who came through that program. In fact, on Dance with the Stars, the bass trombone player, Craig Gosnell, he was one of the players there. One of the top right now young trumpet players working in the studios, Rob Shear. I met him one of these on playing out at Disneyland. It was so much fun to play out there. They treat you like a star. I had my family, they paid my family, and it's still the program. Still, Art Bartner, who was the band director at USC, was the one to put it together for Disney.
Yeah.
And every year Wayne Bergeron would go out, Gordon Goodwin, Tom Rainier, Salazano. We'd all be at different times during the summer where they had this band. We would all go out and do concerts with them, and it was just so much fun. So much fun. Oh my God.
Well, this one, I know you and I talked about this. A trumpet solo from Renee Olsted's Renee Olsted recording, right?
Yeah, this was. So that
Oh, that was cool.
it was interesting because the conductor says it said do a solo a la Snooky Young with the plunger, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my remembering sitting next to Snooks, and that was my tribute to Snooks.
That's cool. Hey, Tim Weston says hi. He used to play with you in Ollie Mitchell's band.
Absolutely, yeah, that was a fun band, wasn't it?
Here's
Cool,
one.
good.
This looks interesting. That's you, right?
Yeah. Let me see. What is that for?
Sin Brass.
Oh yeah, this is a company, Cinesamples, and what they did was they put out synthesized. They wanted the LA brass sound, so they had myself and John Lewis and Doug Tornquist on tuba. They had Alex Isles, and they just recorded us playing and. So that if any of the composers wanted to have the quote LA brass sound, they could use that for that. So it was kind of cool. It was really it was interesting to do. It
Cool.
really was.
Let's just check it out a little
Disney
bit.
Plus, Hulu, and
Yeah.
ESPN Plus now bundled together. The greatest stories and characters.
Yeah, Cinesamples, yeah. Oh, I never saw this. Thanks. I got to check it out. That's what it's called, Cinebrass Pro. Mike Patty, Bruce Fowler, myself, Noah Gladstone,
Hey guys,
Craig
Mike Patty
Gosnell,
with Cinesamples.
Brian O'Connor.
And we're here at the Sony scoring stage again, and we're here for Cinebrass Pro.
Such young guys in charge.
Yeah, very much so,
just like
yeah.
Cinebrass 1, we've got Dennis Sands, who's a part of this.
So it's cool. And what they do is they just talk about the process. I mean, there's no solo playing.
Okay.
Talking about the whole, but it's a very interesting thing to watch.
Yeah.
For those of us that are out there, to watch it. And there's John Lewis and myself.
Ultimately dependable.
Yeah.
For
John Lewis is in the
anything
middle
written
there.
on a note.
If I were at
And
Sony or
I think
Fox or
Walt
somebody,
Fowler was the other trumpetist.
and
Bill
and I'm
Ross, the
hearing
great
what I
Bill
hear,
Ross.
what would
Uh-huh.
He did about 4 Oscars with Bill and a lot of movies.
Wow, these guys, a lot of them look very
The
young.
best thing about it is you get
Yeah,
to
they're
walk
all
in
very young,
for
And it's
pieces using
Chris
that.
Leonard. Oh my God, very talented man.
Yeah.
Did a lot of movies with Chris. And
Uh-huh.
so there was a lot of good people involved in that, and they just wanted to feature the LA Brass, and I thought that
Right.
was kind of cool,
Okay, now this is like a wrong spelling. First, Rick Baptist, DC. I just wanted to show you that.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And this Brunson, I'm sure you don't want to see this one. Brunson Brothers.
That is so funny. I don't remember what that was, to tell you the
Oh
truth.
well, this just for fun. Let's.
I don't know if anybody here knows, but there was
It's the story that I
four
tell about the
brothers
Brunson.
who lived in Utah were called
I
the
know what it is.
Brunson
I can tell you
brothers.
the story. Let me tell you the story.
Okay, all right. Well, let's
Right,
have
so
you
the
tell us the
Brunson, the
story.
Brunson brothers are the 4 young guys from Utah, right?
Yeah.
And they're 4 trumpet players, very talented young kids. But they would show up like downtown where the operas, or else we would do a Broadway show, and they would always be outside of the Dorothy Chandler Theater with their cases open and their boombox, and they would play. And they're 4 young, good-looking trumpet players, and they had this style of playing that, and this was the story that I was telling on the thing there, and the style of player, like they would go ba da 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 da, and just do all these kind of inflections and things like that, right? And they would play the hell out of it, and people applaud and throw money or thing. And so we were doing Incredibles, the movie Incredibles, the Pixar movie, right? And so me as first trumpet player, I feel it's my job that, and Michael Giacchino, that's his first big movie.
Uh-huh.
And I'm there with Wayne Bergeron and a few, and then two other my other players. And so there was a scene, because when you do a motion picture in the studio, they show the scene that you're playing to on the screen behind you. We never hear dialogue, but we could see the screen, right? And it was in the movie. There was this one thing where they were running up this hill trying to get away from the bad guys, and they stopped and the orchestra went as they're going up the hill, right? And so we did the same thing, and then they got to the top and it stopped, and I saw that one of the characters moved like that, right? And I didn't hear anybody do that, right? We didn't catch it, in other words. And so me with my big mouth, I said to Tim Tomanek, the conductor, and I said, Michael, I said, do you mind if we try one little thing? And Michael was great about allowing us to add some if we wanted to, and said, Michael said, shoot, so they're in the booth, right? And so I said to the trumpet section, guys, in bar 82, after that downbeat, let's do a Brunson. That's what we used to call a Brunson.
Oh.
And so what it was, so we played, and the whole orchestra, Tim conduct, we heard the click, the whole orchestra played, and we got to that note, and we all went, like that, right? And I looked up, and in the booth, the director's high five, Michael's going like this, and it was so cool. And so that's the story that I was telling, that the Prince brothers, we used to hear them play, and then they came on a telethon, Easter Seals Telethon as one of the acts, and I'm in the band with Chuck Finley and Charlie Davis and I think Frank Zappa and myself, and they were one of the acts, and they did that on the telethon, and we got the biggest kick. So for the rest of the telethon, every time we played anything, we would emulate them, right? The play on for whoever, da, 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 yeah! And we'd do that, And so we've actually used the studio a few times. Not just, for me, I love doing that. I love adding and try to add little inflections that, again, I appreciate what the composer wrote, but hopefully they're hiring me for maybe if I could just add a little something too. And I get shut down once in a while, but sometimes it works out okay, Such as that.
Well, that's so cool. I mean, that's, and what's really cool is that the producer or the director would understand that everybody does what they do really well. So to trust the people contributing that's really a cool thing.
And that's why I think they come here. I really do.
Yeah.
That they can get things done very quickly, because we're used to doing it. That's our job. We get things done quickly, And so, when you listen the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
It's amazing, Steven Spielberg movie. John Williams did the score. But featured through that whole thing is Dan Higgins. And then on Vibes, playing the same melody that Dan's played is Alan Estes. But that, you couldn't, you'd have to give that to somebody a week ahead of time to practice.
Yeah.
That morning, you open up the page, and those are the notes, and it played it unbelievable. Like I said, with Pete Chrisley on Unforgettable, that solo that he plays,
first
take. That's why they come here. That's why they keep coming back to Los Angeles, because that's what they're going to get from the musicians here.
You're reminding me of a pianist who I know, Mike Lang, who was, I always struck me. It was so like you put a piece of music in front of him, and the first time he plays it, he makes it magical. He makes it musical, and so that's obviously why he's one of the, foremost studio pianists, because that's that's what he's good at, and that's amazing,
Exactly.
you
Oh
know.
yeah, I mean that's when you think of Mike Valerio on bass,
Yeah,
and all these amazing, you turn around, and just in the behind us, the trumpets are always the back of the bus, right? We're at the end, and the percussion are behind us. I look over and there's Larry Bunker, the great Larry Bunker playing timpani, or Emil Richards, right? Or any one of unbelievable musicians.
yeah.
So that to me, I'm a fan and I'm a thrilled to be there. I am. I'm a fan. I really am.
That's great. Yeah, my husband has a really large record collection, and even though his taste leans more towards rock and blues, like the old rock and blues, still he'll come up with jazz stuff that I've never seen, and of course I get the first pick. So some of the old records, that was that was a big thing that they never did. They never put people's names.
Ever. I mean, and then that's like I said in my columns. I try to resurrect that. Like, oh my God, there's so many examples. That people go to the movie and they hear it, or they walk out whistling the song, a melody that they heard, a trouble or whoever, but they don't know who played it, and that's sad. So in a way, you're right. We're kind of the unknown people. They can't do it without us. But that's what I'm trying to get when we talk to the people across the table. Hey, your music, do your movie without music, and then come back and talk to us.
Yeah,
My favorite story. I tell this story all the time to the younger kids. The movie Up, the Pixar movie Up. All right.
Yeah, Up. Great.
Michael Giacchino, who wrote a great score, and won Academy Awards. So we're doing it, 75 musicians at Warner Brothers. And the director, Pete Docter, got up before there was this cue. And now, if you remember in the movie, near the beginning of the movie, when the old man is reminiscing about his wife who passed away in their life, right? And that's a 3.5 minute cue. And at the end of that 3.5 minutes, if you don't have a tear in your eye, you have no soul, right? So Pete Docter got up there, and he did something that doesn't happen that often. He says, ladies and gentlemen, he says, before you record this cue, we want you to put your headphones on, turn around, look at the screen, and we're going to put the dialogue in there so you can hear what you're playing to. And so we all did that, right? 75 room, and we thought, oh, isn't that lovely, right? And then he said, okay, Michael, record. So we record the music, right? Beautiful little piano solo in this. And after lunch, Pete Docter, the director, came back. He says, now I want you to do the same thing. Put your headphones on. We're going to put what you played, and you guys will hear what your music did to my movie. And we turned around and they played back our score with the dialogue, and 75 grown men and women are crying. That's how important music is.
Yeah.
And people don't get that. They don't understand that. But try to go through life without listening to any kind of music. Doesn't, jazz, symphonic, anything. You can't. It's emotions. It evokes memories. It evokes everything. So that's why I love doing what I'm doing, and that's why I'm keep fighting the good fight.
Well, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I always think. I've said jazz is my religion, but really music is my religion because. When you think about religion, it's something you practice that brings you closer to God. And
right. Absolutely.
That's what we're doing, right? It's like music is part of we practice, even if we're just listening, we're listening. That's a practice. And why do we listen? Because of the feelings that it evokes, which are a connection to the spiritual,
It's a God's gift. Absolutely. Yeah. I totally believe that. I do.
Yeah. Me too. Gosh, there was something else I was going to talk about. I'll have to let that go. That's the mind is a terrible thing to waste, but
it is. Yes, I agree.
Oh
But this is
gosh.
cool. I'm having fun. This is great. I was a little worried because I was up until about, like I said, 4:30 in the morning, and so
Yeah,
uh,
just to reiterate, Rick was just renominated to be the vice president of the LA Musicians Union, and congratulations.
thank you,
That's
thank
so
you.
nice. It's so cool. When does it change over? Does it, I mean,
January 11th,
oh, okay.
the new
Yeah.
administration comes in, and like I said, with the first female president
Yeah.
of Local
President.
47 in 126 years. It's about
126
time.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
Stephanie O'Keefe. It is.
It's
And
really
actually,
good.
the first Asian American woman to
Yeah.
be secretary treasurer. So that's kind of neat too. That's Danita Paz. So yeah, I think we broke some really, really cool ground, and we're gonna work hard for our union
Yeah.
and continue working hard. During the COVIDs, we were able to establish funds where if musicians had jobs canceled,
Yeah.
that we're able to contact the musicians union, and we would at least get them money. We talk to the employers. Uh, we have contracts with probably at least 50 different groups, and talk to them about to keep up payment. Granted, it was everything was closed down, but to pay into the health and welfare for our musician. So we've done a lot for our musicians, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's our job, and I love doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have music that you listen to now that you find that you're
Funny you should
drawn
mention. It's funny you should mention. My whole life. Well, let's say anybody who rides with me in my car
to?
for the last 40 years. I've been in the studio 40 years. For the last 40 years, they're absolutely shocked. I thank God for Sirius Radio. I love radio classics. I don't know if you listen to that. That's the old radio shows.
No, I don't know about that.
Oh, it's a great station on
Ah,
Sirius, on XM. It's called Radio Classic. They play like the old Gunsmokes, the old Johnny
oh,
Dollar, and I listen to those. And if I know it's not that, then I'm listening to the Comedy Channel. I don't listen to music. I play music, but I don't listen to music. And it's sad but true. But yeah, I love music, but I also like to get away from it too.
yeah, yeah.
But you
Interesting.
got to watch
Okay.
radio classics. It's amazing when you listen, because these are in the 40s, 30s, and 40s, those radio shows, original radio shows,
Yeah.
all done live with live musicians, and to hear the playing that is done on those radio shows. It's unbelievable. Radio classics, I think it's 67 on the dial, something like that.
I'll have to write that down. My husband has it in his car. Radio
Perfect.
classic.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
Well, my husband and I are fanatics for Perry Mason, so that goes right along.
Every night at 5 o'clock on TV, right?
Oh, well, we in our house, I hate to admit this, but it's true. Because my husband does right now. He does eBay and he follows. Because he collects various things. So he's doing that on his computer. So he either watches Death and Destruction. That's what I call it. Like I killed my wife and got away with it. That kind of
Oh
stuff.
God, I can't do that. My wife watches.
He watches that. Yeah.
I
Or-
don't
or-
get their ideas,
I know. Or he watches the History Channel or, like Discovery, that kind of stuff. Or
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason is on. We always try and watch it in the morning. This is Monday through Friday, 9 to 10. Then it's on 3 o'clock. Then it's on 5 or 6, right? Yeah. Or 5 and 6.
That's what
Yeah.
I watch.
And then it's on at 11:30.
Oh, I didn't know that one. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, so we like when I was going out before, and he'd say, "Well, what time will you be home?" And I'd say, "Well, I'll be home in time for Perry," or
Yeah, there you go.
or I won't be home in time for Perry. So yeah, we watch it. As a matter of fact, Paul Kreibich was wearing a shirt when I interviewed him that said, "I'd rather be watching Perry Mason," and I bought one for my husband.
Oh, that's great. I love it. I love it. But yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's so funny when they have a sexy woman on it, it's always a saxophone player. And I know who that saxophone player is. Ronnie Lang.
Oh,
He's the one that played it for
oh.
on that show. Yeah.
You brought up another thing, which is I actually know a good handful of people whose parents were either the musicians working or somehow really tied in tightly together, like Gary Bavona.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, his father was Gus, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, he was one of the guys, right? The
It was,
alto
absolutely.
player, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gus and Gary. I love Gary. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah. At one time, I was thinking it would be really fun to make a musical play from Gary's remembrances. That would be really fun. And but of course, there's a million billion reasons why I didn't get to it. But I thought that would be great, right?
That's the thing and then talking with these older musicians and the sense of humor was always unbelievable. Like there was a great guy,
Yes.
and Tommy Shepard, great, but he was. I mean, they got away with stuff that they could never do now in the studio. But like Tommy, one of my favorite. We were doing a telethon with Ralph Carmichael, and it was the trombone section was ridiculous. Dick Nash, George Roberts on bass trombone, Lloyd Oyett, and Tommy Shepard, right? And so Tommy Shepard and I was there and the trumpets, and Sheppy he was a character. He was a crazy. And so he came in on one of the rehearsals and sat down, and I heard him say it to the other guys, and there's always jiving going on,
Uh-huh.
Boy, I didn't realize it was going to be this hard to make the third million. Lloyd Oyett, without missing a beat, looked back at me and said, "Well, Tommy, you stole the first two." I mean, just things like that. My other favorite one, it has one little bad word, but it's not. One of the major contractors had a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was in the hospital.
Yes.
And Tommy Shepard went up to see him in the hospital. And the contractor opened up his eye. He said, "Sheppy, what are you doing here? I would have thought that you would want to piss on my grave." And Sheppy said right back to me, he says, "I don't want to wait in line that long." But see, those old stories like that, there's this, like the Tedesco stories. And I mean, those guys, they had a ball. They had a ball.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was just, it was the good times, the good feelings,
really
the
was.
laughs. And I know, pretty amazing. Really amazing. I mean, gosh, Bobby Shue keeps dropping into my head because, and I interviewed him too. We're old friends, and just
Sorry about that.
no problem. We're coming close to the end here, but it's just I think what I've walked away with today is that the relationships for you have been really important, and of course the personal pride of being really good at your craft and contributing what you can contribute to let's say successful productions. Hey, that brings me to a question. So yesterday I had some friends go, I used to ask a similar question at each one of these interviews, and then I didn't really love the question because it was basically, what did you listen to growing up? But you've already said, for instance, your mentor or one of your heroes was Snooky Young, So, however, I do like this question. How do you define success in the music business, I guess?
In the music business?
Yeah.
I think we're lucky to have the stuff that we have played on and you sang on, that is on records, on tapes, on whatever. And I think probably ask me one more time.
How would you define success?
On a personal note, I love the fact that I have grandchildren now. I love the fact that they know that Papa played on Tiny Toons and Animaniacs.
Yeah.
And Family Guy, and that's me on all 4 trumpet parts. I think
wow.
is they know Papa played on that.
Yeah.
Or they watch a Disney movie. I played on all the big Disney movies from Little Mermaid on all the way through to the last one was Frozen before I.
Oh boy. If I was your granddaughter, I'd be like in seventh heaven.
I love that. And my daughter, I was able to take her to these sessions and I think that is, for me, on the personal note and truthfully, I get a kick out of going to Dish and going to the 500 and saying, "Oh, yeah, I played on that one," and I just think that it's. I'm proud of everything that I've played on. I feel that I'm proud to say that I performed with these other great musicians, and just the recognition, on the movie, I have to bring it up, Incredibles. On Facebook, I hear probably at least once a week or more of young trumpet players who would want to be my friend, because when the movie came out on DVD, you could go to it and it said music, right? And it shows us playing and me talking to Rick Baptist, first trumpet, Incredibles, right? I just heard recently from a young trumpet player in Bophuthatswana, South Africa, who friended me on Facebook saying, "You're my favorite trumpet player. You played on The Incredibles," and those kind of things I love. And that's why I am so thrilled that we are finally going to start to get credits, because I want other young trumpet players around the world, because I don't know who you influence. You don't know who you influence.
Yeah.
But how cool is that?
Yeah, that's very cool.
Trumpet player who plays trumpet in Africa.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
That's, aside from the grandkids and my family on these things, but things like that, that's just as that's my adrenaline. Shot in the arm. I'm thrilled.
Also, Roland, my friend Roland Askerons, I think he's suggesting that you should be an actor. Have you acted?
No.
He says you have a great look for whatever, like a mafioso or.
I'd do it. I'd be on The Sopranos in 2 seconds. Are you kidding? Come on.
I bet you could do character acting because you have a definite look.
When I talk music, when I talk about my career, when I talk about that, I get animated. I do know that, but that to me is fun. It really is fun. As far as acting, I have a lot of acting friends and known them over the year, and it's to memorize lines. I can memorize music. I think I could do it the same way, In fact, we were doing the movie Silence of the Lambs,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you have Sir Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yes. Hmm.
He came to every session. He loves music. He loves musicians, loves music. We have pictures of him conducting this, and he came back. And so I talked to him. I came back to talk, and I said, and he insists on being called Tony. I mean, this is Sir Anthony Hopkins, right? And I said, sir, what kind of skills did you do to become Hannibal Lecter? And he says, now I guarantee everybody out there is going to go get the movie, right? And he looked at me, he says, well, what I did was, you're right, I did my skills. I sat and watched 50 hours of taped interviews of mass murderers, and I took one thing away from that. And we're all like leaning in, right? And he says, yeah, the one thing I did was when they talk, they look at you and they never blink. So when you watch the movie, Silence of the Lamb, and he's on the screen, he never blinks, because that gives you that maniacal kind of look that he got. And he did that by that. He did his homework and his scales. So I thought that was really interesting. I love stories like that. But thank you to anybody. And my phone number is no. Anyway, and actually I do want to do that. If there's anybody out there that have any other questions or anything, and this ends, I want to give you my personal email address. Hopefully you will write this down.
I'll write it in the comments. Go ahead.
Okay, good. My personal email address is nocoda, NOCODA, and the number 1, nocoda1@AOL.com. Yes, I still have AOL. To all you nerdy techs out there, AOL works fine. nocoda1@AOL.com. And I will answer you if you have any questions about anything, the union, anything, please email me. I will absolutely answer you. And I thank you for allowing me to do that.
Sure. That's very nice
I
of
love
you.
doing it. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, that's really nice of you. I want to, before we get off, I just want to tell people, I did six days a week for about 6 months or something like that. And then I went to 3 days a week doing this. So now I'm on 3 days a week. And next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I have, probably you don't know her. She's an international singer, Sasha Boutros, on Monday. And then Tuesday, you probably know this singer, Darlene Koldenhoven.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love Darlene.
Yeah, great.
I did the score for Sister Act that she was in.
Oh, yeah, she's
I love
another one of
Darlene.
those people that we're talking about, very quality-minded and able, And
Darlene's the best. Please give her my love. I love
will.
Darlene, the best.
Okay. And then Wednesday, Bill Cantos.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Great.
cool.
Great. You guys, he's such a great musician and a great singer,
Yeah.
and a great writer. So I'm looking forward to all that too. And yeah. Oh, and just like a little shameless plug, tomorrow night I'll be online concert with Atmara Ruiz, Carrie Frank on B3, and Aron Seferty from the LA Athletics Club. And if you want to come on, we're from 7 to 9, and you go to thejazzsalon.com to get tickets. And that'll be really fun.
Well, I'll tell you, Cathy, this is, I've had a ball. This is great.
Thanks, Rick.
I thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be one of the 213 that you've done this year. And I am thrilled. And any other time, if you want to do it again, I'll be there in 2 seconds. Okay?
Cool. Well, thank you so much. It's been really fun talking with you, and I'm all stirred up now from all the names that we've brought back and mentioned, and I just feel like they're hanging around here, and it's great to just have that feeling of who they are, around again,
That's cool.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you,
fun.
everybody. It's a pleasure. And believe me, any questions, send them to me. I'll answer you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick.
All right, we'll see you later. Thank you, Kathy.
Bye.